A Secular Democracy in Practice, Objective Assessment of Amenities Programs in India. And it busts a lot of myths. It counters the narrative which is being spun around and against our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. It also looks into certain issues around democracy. Generally in West, democracy is only looked from the prism of elections or reportage or press coverage. But as Baba Saheb Ambedkar said, that democracy is also about equity. It's about economic equality. It's about social amenity. It's about social equality, and these are the issues which have been addressed by Professor Shamika Ravi very beautifully through her analysis and the data which she has put in public domain. And contrary to a public perception, and I must put this on record, that is being built by certain quarters, data on the reach of the government program shows that the benefits have accrued to all sections of the Indian society. This study by Professor Shamika Ravi, and again she is a member of the Economic Advisory Council of the Prime Minister, shows there is no evidence to back the claim that the government is catering only to one community or religion. The report studies and compares the access to amenities and schemes like LPG, water and electricity from 2015-16 to 2019-21. And I'm very happy to say that I'm joined by Professor Shamika Ravi today. Madam, my first question to you is, after going through the report, your analysis which has been produced, may I ask you what prompted you to select the data, specifically this data of 20% of the poorest which you have mentioned in your report, and particularly of NFHS. Why did you make that decision?
Well, Karthika, I think first and foremost, this shrillness which you are seeing amongst the experts through different kinds of ratings, they are based on very small samples. They are based on subjective, these are perception-based interviews of a very small group of people. And, you have to view these exercises because they are methodologically so weak that it's really just politics. This is the opinion of a handful of experts. Though the best way to counter is to first see what does the actual data say in terms of large representativeness of what is happening on the ground in India. So the reason we started to look at the National Family Health Survey is, first, you don't want to look at government data. The administration will say what it says. You want to look at independent data. You want to look at large self-reported data out of the households. So if anything, you will get an underestimate of how much progress has happened. You will not get an overestimate. So I think, first of all, it's important to see it is not government administration data. This is survey data from the National Family Health surveys that we conduct in India. Now, the reason I picked up NFHS is also, first of all, it's large. It has data on amenities and what is available to households. But very importantly, the timeline also becomes useful from this analysis point of view. The last round of the NFHS was held in year 15-16, which is within a year of the Modi establishment taking power in India and governance. And the last round, which is the fifth round, happened between 19 and 21. So the time window is absolutely appropriate. What happened in the beginning? What kind of amenities did the poor have access to? And how have things changed in the last 5-6 years since Modi establishment coming into being? Now, the other thing we do in this data is also, we want to focus on the weakest section. We want to focus on the bottom 20% of the population, because this is the segment of the population which has received many amenities for the first time in their lives and lives of their families. So, in a democracy, since everyone has one vote, the elite can't very easily capture or subvert the wishes of the weakest and the silence the weakest segment of the society. So looking at the weakest and the 20% at the bottom became critical for that reason.
Do you think that there was a narrative which was being built and your report busts it because you have actually addressed the issue of social equity, the delivery systems, sabka vikas, the basic facilities to everyone? So your report, if we look into the basic sectors, for example, LPG, if we look at the basic sectors of electricity, it just shows that even the minority, in some cases, they have even benefited more than the majority communities in the districts.
Yeah. So I think very important to highlight that the study is basically the whole idea of doing this research was I was really scrutinizing, trying to see, is there any discernible discrimination that I see? And what are the variables or the metrics along which you want to look at discrimination? One which the Modi establishment is often accused by the expert and the elites, and a lot, of course, from these rankers of democracy. It is one on the situation of minorities. So we analyze the data to see what is happening to the bottom 20%, disaggregated by religious groups. That's number one. Second is you also want to look at social classes. What is happening to SC/STs? You also want to look at geographical clusters. Because Karthike, in India, districts are not homogeneous. You do have Muslim majority districts, you do have Christian majority, you have Sikh majority, you have not just majority, but the variation. If you look at the way religions are distributed, we have defined these as different kinds of clusters. Because theoretically, if an administration really does want to discriminate, it's not that difficult to do so, because you know that there is, this particular constituency, that particular block or subdivision or even district doesn't vote for me. So I can keep amenities away, right? So geographical discrimination theoretically is possible and feasible. So it was important to also look beyond religion and social classes, is also seeing how are amenities distributed across geographies and districts and different kinds of religious clusters. And we find absolutely no discernible, there is absolutely no bias. In fact, on several counts, what you just highlighted, electricity is one of them. You can look at water, you look at mobile phone, banking, access to bank accounts, LPG, etc. There is absolutely no discernible difference. In fact, in some places, minorities have actually done a little bit better. So it just tells you that the administration does not discriminate. You can have anecdotes, you can have election hysteria, you can have politics, you will have shrillness in the media. But beyond all of that, as professional economists, we have to look at data and show what the data basically reflects. The data is also very large, by the way.